Now you're at the point where you might have had your last treatment, whether it's chemo or radiation, but the last one has happened. And your emotions are going to be all over the place.
Yeah, because now the team that you so relied on for all this time is now kind of disappearing.
It's an important point to that because for months, maybe a year, however long, people have been watching you, taking care of you, focusing on you, and now it's over, but it's not over for you. And I think that really plays into your psyche and how you handle your everyday situations after that. Um, there's a lot of talk. You ring that last bell, you get that last chemo, and you're supposed to feel a sense of relief, but you don't always feel that way because now who's watching you? Who's making sure there's no more cancer inside of you? All of those feelings come rushing in quite quickly.
And people start expecting you to go back to your old self, but that's not possible.
Because you're in a new normal. I think it's not just that they're expecting it. They really want everything to be back to normal, not just for their own sanity, but for yours too. They want you to be at a place where you are okay. That was scary what just happened. But the reality is you really can't go backwards. You are a different person. You're still the person you were, but you're just a newer version of yourself.
You can't really go back to being who you were because it's going to be difficult. You might not be able to do the things you were able to do before. So, kind of coming to terms with your limitations and your new normal, and just, I guess, maybe use it as an opportunity to kind of reinvent yourself a little.
Yeah, grow a little bit, maybe evolve into who you are supposed to be right now. Different things affected me: smells, taste, spicy food, touch. My skin was super sensitive to different fabrics afterwards. Your skin coloring might change a little bit if you had radiation. Your hair growth might be coming back in. uh, and I think the other thing is you kind of do miss people giving you that nurturing attention, uh, because you still are going through a lot. It just happened to you, and you were on this whirlwind of doctor's appointments and treatment and surgery and all of that stuff. And all of a sudden, it stops. And you have to find a way to navigate your life as it is now, because for the past year, 6 months, whatever it was, you were in this whirlwind of cancer. And I think this goes back to what we said before: is there's no right or wrong way to do this. If your way of dealing with it is to dive right back into work and get back into it, great, that's for you. Just be mindful of your mindset and everything that you're really going through, because just like grief is not linear and doesn't have a timeline, this may not be for you either. You may be triggered by something 6 months later, which could be a follow-up doctor's appointment.
And I do want to take into account people whose treatment don't actually end, people who are in treatment for life. So, someone who's metastatic, who might have to continue to be doing things. So, I mean, in that case, things might or might not change too much. Probably when it comes to the doctors, maybe less doctors because now you're on a more on like a treatment plan,
Yeah.
right?
I'm glad you said that, because that was a thing about ringing the bell that broke my heart. Because at the end of radiation, I didn't want to ring the bell because all I could think about were all my friends who were metastatic who never get that chance to ring that bell. I am not saying you shouldn't ring the bell. That's not what I'm saying. But we do need to be mindful of this community that is terminal. Like, their stage 4, their treatment plan doesn't end. They want to hear words like stable or no progression, where we're living with, we want NED, no evidence of disease. We are living this parallel yet very similar life. And the reality is any one of us could be any one of us. Do you know what I'm saying? So while it is our own journey phase and everything we're going through, I think being respectful to what other people are going through is an added part to this.
And one of the things that you can actually do once you're at this point is maybe like a survivorship plan.
Yeah.
So we've created one that allows you can use it as a journal as well, and just kind of take note of how you feel for the day or the week, what are the things that, you know, that you might be looking forward to, and kind of jotting them down so that you have this plan that you can, in some cases, either you're documenting or you're looking forward to something. So maybe a year from now, how are you going to celebrate your 1 year cancerversary? That gives you something to look forward to. So, whether it's a trip somewhere that you've always wanted to, gives you an excuse to try something new that you've never thought you'd have the courage to. So this allows you to do something, and write that down, or maybe just a list of people that you can, who were kind of your rock while you were going through everything, that you can continue to rely on, and the people and certain people that maybe you call on, for certain pieces, whereas others are maybe more emotional. Some other ones might be more of like someone that can help, run additional errands for you, because though treatment ended, you're getting adjusted to this new normal, and it's going to take some time, so it's not like immediate.
I love the survivorship guide. Like we were talking about having a plan for treatment, having a plan for after this is important. And I think it's also about doing it your own way, right? Not everyone wants to use the word survivor. That's okay. Not everybody wants to call it journey. That's okay. We shouldn't be judging each other on that. But even for someone who's living with metastatic cancer, to have some sort of plan as they're going through the rest of this treatment is so important. How do they want to lean on their community? Not just the people that they care about, but people that might be an early stage, or can they reach out to them to maybe share their story a little bit so that we can all work together? What does that survivorship look like as a community, not just as your individual perspective? And that may be you not sharing your story. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Totally okay. If you don't want to do that, that's private, that's for you. But maybe you do want to share it. And how do you do that? How do you network and learn from other people and how they are surviving the aftermath of cancer? Because, you know, you went through this for a year. It's just like, if you were in a car accident and it was a bad car accident, you have to go to rehabilitation, you have to go to therapy, occupational therapy. Don't be afraid to ask for a therapist. There are great cancer therapists that specify in cancer survivorship, or living with stage 4, whatever it is. That's a great resource for you. A nurse navigator can help you with that. Even just talking with ihadcancer community and finding a network of people that gives you support for afterwards.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm, 13 years out now, or 12, 13, something like that. And I was so excited to wait for that 5 year mark, because everything, everyone tells you 5 year mark, you're considered cancer free. And so I got to that 5 year mark, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm still kind of scared. And then at 6 and at 7, that feeling is still there. It just does diminish down a little bit. And so you can kind of start focusing and in other parts of your lives. So, it's just kind of giving yourself the okay to be scared and continue to be scared. There is no, we keep saying this, there's no book of how you're supposed to feel or what you're supposed to do. It's something that gradually happens. You start finding that new normal of yours, and then you're like, okay, I'm not as afraid anymore. And I think that, I'm getting to that point now where I'm like, okay, actually, what? I haven't been thinking about it as much. I still think about it here and there, but it's not as constant.
I think an important part, though, is, and you said it, everyone talks about that 5 year mark. It can be scary when you hit that 5 year mark, because the what if is still there. It just is. Um, I would love to see the cancer community get rid of the term cancer free in that sense, because the reality is once you've been diagnosed, your chances of recurrence is higher. That's just a fact. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that is a fact. Being educated about the statistics and the facts around your cancer in the survivorship world is really important, so that if God forbid something ever happened down the line, or if a friend was diagnosed, whatever it is, you understand why that happened. I do like the term cancer free, because there are moments, and you will have them, where you do feel cancer free. I don't mean it growing in your body or any of that. That moment when you are just living right here, right now and you feel good and you're smiling and you're having a good time and cancer is not invading your space. Embrace those cancer free moments because um, they may be few and far between for a little bit, but as you embrace them and grow with them, you might get them more and more.
Yeah, I love that you said that because it's such a great feeling when you're like, I do come here, you. Oh, it is such a great feeling when you're either out and about or you're vacationing or you're celebrating or you're anywhere, whatever it is that you're doing, and it doesn't pop up in your head, and it's just like, oh my god, I feel like I'm normal, and I'm like, wow. So I love that you said that, and I love that you're encouraging people to embrace those moments because I think the more that we do, the more we allow ourselves to get back into that space again.
Yeah. And I think another part of survivorship that we forget about is you live with a little bit of guilt. You're doing okay in that moment and you feel guilty because you know that, Frank's not doing so good or Lucy's having a bad time. You feel guilty because you are doing okay. You got to let that go because that's their story, not yours. And I can tell you that Frank and Lucy and John and whoever would want you to be happy in your moment. Um, it's okay to have that feeling for a moment. Let it go so that you can let the next emotion in, which could be anger because you're pissed off that it even happened to you, which the next moment could be happy because you're done with it. And the next moment could be sad. I mean, you have to understand that those are emotions. Process them, let them sit with you, and then let them go because you will miss out on those cancer free moments if you don't. This is the new normal.
What's yours? Okay.
We're getting close.
Okay.
Mm.
Lipstick. Ooh. There are some people who I can't remember the person, and um, I think just in general, other people, like a lot of people probably do it, but putting on lipstick, especially like a red lipstick on, you know, when you're going into surgery as a, I'm coming this into it with my
I'm wearing this
full
lipstick.
on.
Screw you.
Exactly. So, um, people don't realize for someone it's just a piece of lipstick. It's like, okay, great, if you're gonna go make yourself look pretty, but for other people, it has such an impactful meaning and like a memory and like it just can mean so much. This little thing.
My parents' best friend was diagnosed with breast cancer about 6 or 7 years before I was. And she was always like a mother to me because I didn't have a mother. So she kind of took in that role. She was Aunt Barbara to me. She wasn't Mrs. Whatever. She was Aunt Barbara. And when I was diagnosed, she called me every single day to check on me and see how I was. And I'd run into her at the fair or the grocery store. And, she's your typical older Italian woman with a big hair and, loud and Amory, get over here. And she then was diagnosed stage 4. And her family was really angry because it was like almost 20 years later. Mm-hmm. There was many reasons why it happened, but it happened. Anyways, a couple days before she died, my dad and I went to go see her. And we were walking in, and she was sitting in a chair that was her back was facing us, and she's yelling to her daughter, Jody, give me my lipstick. Don't let them come in here until I have my lips on. Aww. And that was the first thing she did. She put her lips on, and she sat there and just talked to us, and we laughed. And I will never forget that moment of her wanting to put her lipstick on. I mean, here this woman's dying, literally. She died a couple days later.
Oh my God.
And she wants to put her lipstick on. Aww. Just to feel normal for just a hot minute.
Yeah.